Okay, did you guys finish the basket from last week, from Sunday?
No.
Okay, so that basket is going to be quite a task.
Yeah.
I finished it, but not happy. I'll do it again, I think.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
going to take several weeks. I tried making the basket also, and I barely made about 5 rungs of the weave, and then my eyes started twisting around. But just a little tip maybe I can give you. It's very easy to fall into a pattern, literally a pattern while making a pattern. You get that it is just these gentle compound curves, one below the other, next to each other. And if we just do it like that, we will land up sooner or later starting off with a almost realistic looking basket and ending with a graphic of the basket, because we are not paying attention to individual sections of that basket. So you will have to figure out a method by which you do this. I want to just expose you to the method that I use. And that's why that will explain why my eyes were all over the place.
I think what happened to me is exactly what you just explained. So my basket is looking very flat.
Ah.
Exactly what you said I have done. Mindlessly went on doing it in like trance.
Yes.
Not bothered to look at the picture. Just went on doing it, and before you know it, it was all done and looking totally flat.
Yeah, it's a very tedious task. So we have to be very disciplined, and that can be exhausting. So give it time. Do it every few days, just a few rounds. It's almost like I suppose I think this is something, this is the way even crafts are approached. You can never do a piece of craft all in one go. If you're doing woodworking or weaving, when you're making complicated things, you decide on a particular amount that you're going to do, finish that, then do whatever else you want to do for however long you need to, but you know exactly when the next part begins. So I started out at oh dear, I don't know what has happened now. Oh, 1 second. Huh? In class, I had made, I think, 1 or 2 rungs of the weave. And then I had just left you all to your devices. But it's important to address that.
It looks lovely.
So, you know what happens is each of these sections has a unique shape.
Yeah.
While in our minds, we would think that it's just a shape like that. It's not as simple as this. This shape could in some places be flat, and this is the unique shape. It not the carried forward line. That is another section. And then from there comes another section. And this can then turn inward or upward. Plus, as the basket turns around, the sections start becoming narrower and skewed. So if we don't pay attention to that, then we might just make them all flat or very angular. So how I approach a problem like that is as follows. Each of these has a unique color. We have the rungs distributed in different colors. You'll have 3 of a light brown, then a dark brown, then a light dark, then there's a mix. So I made the first 3, and then the fourth one I shaded so that I can mark where I am. Then I made the rest, and then I shaded the ones that are dark and left the others. I am going to go back to those, but I don't have to do all of it in one shot. So I'm going to continue like that. And in each of these also, I first make the shadows. So I'm going to show you the picture again. And then you'll be able to see. So I have come, I think I have come till here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is where I've come. I have twice as
So
much.
you're marking it on the photograph, Aditi?
Yes. Did you
Okay.
you can see this? Okay, I'm gonna change this. Just count down 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm till this point. And then
Mhm.
there are at least 2.5 times more rungs to go. When I approach a topic like that, I try to make exactly the same number of rungs of this weave as I see in the picture. So I will count. I don't make just an arbitrary shape. It's important that we put in those many or close to those many and keep adjusting the bottom of the basket so that we can accommodate all of them. That way we get the exact texture. If we don't pay attention to that and we just start filling out as many as we can, say for example, if I make my basket shape till about here, because we have not really measured it or made a grid out of it. This is where my basket is. I'm just making a straight line, but you can assume that I've rounded this off. And then I get so engrossed in the texture, and by the end of it, I'm so exhausted by the texture that I decide to end right here. I will land up with a wrong proportion of the basket because it is the wrong proportion. I haven't bothered to count. The other things that also matter in something like this is the subtle color difference. The colors on the right are lighter, and there is a definite highlight. Now, that highlight may not be as bright as the shiny objects, but it is still there. That place, literally half of this basket, you will see sharper highlights and sharper shadows also. So when I make this shape, I will make the shadows first because they give me some distinction. Oh, 1 second. No? Yeah. So let's see how these shadows are. They give you a nice bookend to your shape and becomes like a marker. And when you cannot distinguish the shapes of the lighter object, it can be the shadows that you can count. So I can't go any further than this. Oh, sorry. So here we'll have, I have a dark shadow over here. And a dark shadow here, then a dark shadow here. It's easy to count the shadows than the shapes sometimes. And the shadows also can be very distinct. Some of them are big. Because this is an organic material, the shadows are going to all be unique themselves. Okay? So the other thing also to keep in mind is the shading. In shading also, sometimes we just do, okay, I'll show you what not to do. So when you make a shape like that, it's already done here. And I'll just start shading. And I'll do this. This itself is not the right approach. This is again an approach of not observing clearly. The difference between this shape and this shape, you can see because there is a color difference, a shade difference. And there is also some kind of a highlight, not just on the top, but also at the base. So each of these segments has a unique characteristic that we must try to recreate. Only then, little by little, that basket can look like the reference image. So I'll leave a little shape here. It doesn't have to be accurate, but it is deliberate. Then a little shadow over here sometimes. And much lighter lines over here. And as these fill up, you will start seeing this as subtly become darker and this will become lighter. So you need to focus on the shape, the tone, the texture, the shadows, and comparative difference between the two to create adequate contrast. And at a later stage, also change a few things. The shadows in the on the inside of my basket are now looking very wimpy. So this is looking like a flat disc on top. And that's bound to happen because it almost seems like this area is getting the same amount of light as my lightest area. If I want to change this, I'm shifting to a darker colored pencil. And adjusting the shade. And that's not just for the inside, but for everywhere else, you should have a little bit of room to increase the depth of that tone. So I'm using, this is a very nice pencil called Yuva Stallion Ultra Dark. I don't know whether it's technically a 2B or 4B pencil, but it has got a very dark lead. So these are black pencils with a black eraser. I just bought them because it was so fancy looking, but they really turned out to be good. It's spelled Youva Stallion. I'll share a picture of this later. So you don't have to resort to charcoal pencils to get this darkness. With charcoal, your tone changes completely because it's not graphite. So we don't want to change that. Okay. All right, today.
There are some sections where this thing is like really dark and you can barely make out the difference between the material used and the shadow. So what do you do for that? I mean, it just looks, even in the picture, it's looking like a black spot.
No, so there is still a difference. I went through all those sections and I can assure you that there is still a difference between the darkest spot and its shadow. And all the shadows more or less are exactly the same darkness. The fiber in some places becomes darker than usual. I'll show you what I mean. So this is truly a test of how you are observing. See this one at the base? The corners are still darker. Over here also, here the shadow and the dark fiber seem to be very close to each other. But if you translate this into color, the shadow is still black and the fiber is a very, very dark brown. Can you see it? Now I have to try and finish this at some point. I'm determined to. I love the finished look of this texture. So I have to finish it, but I know the task. Oh, it's going to take a long time. Just have to hunker down and do it. One rung at a day. Okay, so today we are going to switch topics and move to artists. And the first 2 weeks, I'm going to do the same old, but I wanted to switch it up a little bit. I personally love Impressionism. And of those, I love Monet and Van Gogh, not surprising. Both of them are extremely popular all across the world. And I have tried so hard to look for other Impressionists that I would like to recreate. Some point, hopefully, if I find something that we can do in class with watercolors, with the tools that we have, I'll add more Impressionists later in the month. So, the exercise that we're going to do, I want to explain a little bit about why we do these studies. Making a study of another artist's work is a process that has been followed by a lot of artists, even in the past. What we think often about this is that we are copying that person's artwork. So that means a little bit of, there's a confusion between making a study and plagiarism. Now, if you copy this art and you go ahead and sell it, that becomes plagiarism. If you copy the art of an artist who is dead for more than 90 years, it can be plagiarism, but you can still profit from it. All it shows is that you probably don't have any original thought. That's bad enough. But when you do copy someone's art, you can learn a lot of things that you would otherwise not have learned. Many artists come to a style of their own through a lot of exploration, and they themselves will have learned from other artists by observation and sometimes even with studies. So think of the stuff that you do and you like to do and the extent of your imagination or creative exploration. We often have comfortable paths that we like to travel in color, form, composition, even the subjects that we choose. And we have we arrive at these comfortable topics mostly because we like to do them. And the other one is because sometimes they're just easy to take on. But once in a while, you realize that you have gone through this so frequently that you start becoming comfortable and you develop a certain sense of confidence that now you think you can take on something more challenging. The obvious route then is to go deeper in that route, on that particular topic in that channel. So if you like florals, for example, you will take on florals that you've never done before, or you will take up a style that you've not tried before, a medium that you've not tried before, because at least you know how the translation of flowers to paper into art works. But even with that, we are still staying within our comfort zone. If we want to switch this up and expose ourselves to this speedy learning, then we have to drop ourselves into the deep end of something, anything, and we have to just find our way through it. With art, it's very easy to do. With paintings, and especially something like Impressionist paintings, it's very, very easy to do. And the process of that, in fact, makes every other process you do that much easier. So let me explain. Impressionism is more about playing with color. It's about enjoying the variety of shades, the shapes, and with a play of all of that, how do you create an illusion? That is what the painting of most Impressionists is all about. It's like another form of, or another way of looking at it is when we practice calligraphy, we are not making ourselves literate. By practicing calligraphy hour upon hour, it's not as if we are becoming more and more educated, that our vocabulary is increasing. It's none of that. But the aesthetic of the letter is what we are practicing. Similarly, when we are approaching Impressionist art, when we look at a painting, it's not about whose house it is, which field it is, which lily pond it is, what flower it is, what details I need to show. It's not about that. It's not the topic that takes precedence or the accuracy of the topic that takes precedence, which used to be the case in the past. In Impressionism, it's more about how can we make it look like a lily pond without even trying. That I will not make any line that will be on a lily. And yet when I finish this picture, you will see a lily pond in that. So it's almost like magic. So when we are approaching this, I want you to not, we are going to replicate the painting, but I would like you to observe a few things while you're painting it. So don't look at the end result and paint and try to make it stroke by stroke the way it should be. That is going to happen anyway. What I want you to enjoy is matching the colors. We hardly ever do this exercise where we match a color in a painting. We try to match a color in real life, but in paintings, we've not really done it. So this becomes a good exercise for that. You will learn about your palette a lot also. In mixing colors, you will also learn about the different things or different aspects of color that we are not even aware of. For example, sometimes in some places you will see a blue, and you will be forced to define what that blue is. Is it pale? Is it bright? Is there a certain vibrance? You could have a very light shade, but there would be a certain vibrance to even that light shade. You will, when you are mixing those colors, you'll come and say, oh, I've come this close, but 2% is missing, 20% is missing. What is that missing element? So don't stop at that question. Try and put a word to it. It doesn't have to be in English. So you can just say, this is not looking as jhatak as it should look. And that word is enough. You know what you're trying to say with that. When you bring it to its closest shade, as you see in the painting, at that point, you will have learned something more about your own color palette. The 18 shades that we have, that there are limitations to that. We will learn more about that. And that will help you then to choose colors or make combinations for all the other art you do later on. So this exercise is a huge step forward. It's like taking a jetliner to another continent and landing over there. And there you are exploring something completely new that helps you understand something from where you came from. So I'm going to explain this a little more in detail, but now we'll see the pictures. Okay, so this painting was the one that started the whole process. This is called Impression Sunrise. And this painting is just part of the painting. I have just chosen a detail. The painting is fairly big, so we won't be able to recreate the whole thing. And if we see the whole painting, we won't be able to see the details. In paintings before this time, a lot of time was spent in making the painting very smooth, colors very almost as if you have cut a window into something and you're seeing reality. That is what they were trying to make. But over here, they are trying to depict reality and allowing you to imagine what that shape might represent. So if we go closer, we just see horizontal lines, almost very shabbily made. If you can bring to mind classic paintings from maybe the 17th, 16th century, you can see how fine their brushwork is. Over here, you can almost even see the brush, the bristles. Some places you have very thick, gloopy strokes. Some places you have haphazard strokes. At best, this would be a preliminary painting for something that they will develop further over months. But it almost seems as if the artist sent 20 paintings that were finished, and there was one nincompoop assistant who said, okay, I see this in a frame, I'll send this also to the gallery, and sent it by mistake. That's how it seems, that this would probably be a painting that they would work on later. And you'll read a lot about this, and I encourage you to read how the term came up and who were the art critics at that time and how they literally threw out all these impressionists several times from the reputed galleries in Paris. Over here again, notice how the brushstrokes are very evident. And there is a certain spontaneous quality to the picture. Though it is in oil, the paint is slathered over in hurried strokes. Now, these strokes could have been very deliberate, but they are made as if they were hurried. Here, it's slightly more organized. I really love this painting. It's so peaceful. So from far away, you could probably tell where this place is, but when you go closer, look at the mountainscape. It is just strokes. It's a pink horizontal stroke, yellow ochre vertical stroke, and that's it. The trees are almost as if they have been painted in crayon. But you can see almost like a pixelated picture. The stroke changes color and that gives it depth. If it's done in the right place, it will give you shadows. And with that same haphazard technique, you can even approach portraiture. The other very significant thing to note in Impressionist paintings is the complete lack of the color black. This is also, I don't even know if this is black. It looks like black, but it could very well be a deep green or something. Oh, I missed this. Oh, I don't think this is a Monet. This is another artist. I sent it by mistake, but I'll send you Lily. This is definitely not a Monet. Okay. Here also there's a nice softness and just blobs. It is said that this painting inspired the scene from Wizard of Oz, where Dorothy runs down a hill of poppies. It looks exactly like this. And just to give you an idea of who the artist was and the scale of the paintings. Here's a portrait. So look at how large these paintings are. If you're ever fortunate enough to go and see it in a gallery, you absolutely must. And please go and sit in front of this painting for about 5 minutes at least. The beauty of the paintings is that the more you look at them, the more they become alive. The colors are constantly changing. It almost seems like you are right there and the lily pads are floating in water. They because of the strokes, the manner in which the paintings have been created with so many what's the word, strokes that are unpredictable and unconventional, they allow the eye to just travel through that entire surface and you can almost imagine that things are moving around you. All right, so now how do we paint this? So today's paintings are going to be more for you, and I'm going to sit back and just guide you through. You can choose any. Yeah, go ahead, Tarin.
Just wanted to share that in 2017, I went to France, and the highlight of my itinerary was spending a full day in Giverny.
Oh my God, wow.
Only to visit the place and see whatever paintings were there displayed.
Oh, you must share pictures then if you have them.
I will.
That'll be lovely.
It was very emotional, and it, the lily pond and all, it actually got tears to my eyes. It's so beautiful. There is something there.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
How nice. These things can be so, I think sometimes even life-changing. Going to places like these and experiencing that environment can be very rewarding. All right, so going back to how you're going to paint these, it's very simple. We've done this with a lot of other topics before. If we are to take the this pastoral scene, now here again we will start with just making appropriate grids. I always like to start with dividing the painting vertically and horizontally to just give me some kind of absolute reference point. Now in this also, once you do this vertical horizontal half, you can also measure the painting for its proportion. So this is the width of the painting. I'm going to give you an idea of how one would go about. Ready? Measure the same as height. And I have a feeling this is a 1:1.5 ratio. It could be 1.6, 1.8. You can figure this out just with your pencil. Once you get the proportion, if you have paper tape, may apply a paper tape on the rectangle on all four sides. I'll show you how to do that. Now, once this is done, we have to identify a few important factors. So I'm going to use a different colored pen for this. At 1/4 of the way down from the top is our mountain. Half of that is the horizon line. And all the trees and mountains are within this section only. Then we have the path. The path is visible mostly on the right. And the curve is so notice how the curve begins somewhere over here, which could again be 1/3 of the way in. See, even something like this allows you to see, if you were to make a landscape, what points, how will you place the different elements to get what kind of proportion. Now, for someone like me who has not studied art, thankfully, I was not fed this information about what is the right proportion, golden proportion, and all of that. I was able to study this almost like a practical. That I will physically see, make these lines and see how this looks. So the left I have divided, but not in exact thirds. The right I have divided in half. And you keep doing this. I'm not going to do the whole thing for you because I want you to do the rest. The trees also have a certain placement. How are the rest of the trees? And try to build an internal geometry of the painting instead of making a regular grid of 1 by 1 or squares. This way, each item finds its place on the grid much easier. I'm going to share this part. So in case those of you who want to do this painting can start off. And everyone else, you can do a similar study of the other paintings and begin. But before that, I will speak about that. So over here, the proportions change completely. You can see that the horizon line is almost at half horizontal. The house is in the middle. I don't think this is the entire picture. Huh? There is at least a third missing from the left. So this composition is only good for our study. The larger picture will have a different proportion. I'll share that also in a bit. In the case of the irises, things are slightly different because we don't have a defined shape for the horizontal line or the horizon, and everything can be all over the place. So my approach for this again would be, to some extent, I will do the grid, half vertical, half horizontal, but mostly I will play with color over here, color and shape and form, and enjoy that bit. It doesn't matter if some of your flowers are slightly higher or lower. This is in this composition, it's more about the fluidity of all those elements than accuracy of shapes. Okay, so I also will be painting something, one of these pictures. But give me a second. I have to share a water lily. You can't not do a water lily. I don't know why the right picture was not downloaded. There's something specific about the water lilies that I want you to experience. Okay, I've shared that. Yeah, this is the one. This is again a different kind of painting. You don't see a horizon line specifically, but you do see this as a reflection. And I'll speak about this a little later. I don't want to spoil the discovery that I hope everyone has by the end of this painting. Oh, wow. Wait a minute. Let me share these also. These are Tarini's pictures. How beautiful. Now you can look at the painting that he's made and look at the
Yes.
also. Oh, just gorgeous. Those of you who want to make your own Monet painting from
I
these
actually have
photos also.
lovely videos.
Oh, wow.
I have lost a lot of my good videos. Yeah.
Wonderful. So you're saying you lost videos?
Yeah. My phone crashed and I had not uploaded the videos on the cloud. I had only uploaded the pictures because I didn't want to buy more cloud space.
Oh, no.
So I lost those videos. I'm feeling bad. Let's see. Let's see if I can.
You just need to make another tribute.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's what I'm going to do.
So there's a place in New Jersey where somebody has recreated this garden. It's there's a place called Grounds for Sculpture. You can find that on the
Okay.
net. It is I've spoken about this before. And there's so this is a huge garden and a gallery which is open, which was started by somebody from the Johnson and Johnson family,
Okay.
who really wanted to be an artist, but maybe he felt he wasn't as skilled. But he said, this is what I'm gonna do. And there he has recreated this outside the restaurant over there. The restaurant is called Rats. I don't know why it's called Rats, but just in the patio area of the restaurant, you get out of there and then you see Monet's a replica Giverny over there. And a lot of people come there to paint as well.
Wow. One more very nice one. I'm just sharing that. Yeah.
Oh. Ah, beautiful. Okay, so those of you who have tea, you can tape up the proportionate. Maybe I'll try making the sunrise today. The proportion of that is, I think, 1:2 or 1.8. You start off with the shortest size. I'm just going to do a 1:2 size. Seems doable. So you mark the size. Either you can do it the small or the larger size. So I would do it like this. These tapes are very good for marking. It's becoming very large. This is how I'm taping the edges. And you can keep making marks and on all subsequent tapes also. I think it's more 1.6 or so. Okay, I'm going to shorten it in a bit. If your tapes are not working, keep a glue stick handy. Now, all the other markings that you want, even those can be made over here. If you want to know exact half of the lines that you've made, you can also do something like this. You can fold the tape. So you might wonder why I do all these things instead of just taking a scale. But I found that a scale can take up so much time that then all this spontaneous fun of painting just goes away. Maybe I might also have some PTSD from scales being used for maths. Now, when you are blocking, don't draw full lines. You hardly see any full lines over here. So make just dashes to position different objects and end it at that. And focus more on painting. This is what I've made for the sunrise. My sun is going to come somewhere here. And right below the sun, I'm going to have that reflection. Unlike the situation with the Van Gogh paintings, in this case, we can give a few washes, but the best bit is our washes can be patchy. In fact, if they are patchy, that'll look better because then they will imitate a few of the brush strokes.
Can everybody hear?
Yes?
Oh, okay, okay. I thought it went silent for a bit.
Yeah, everyone has gone silent. I think they're focusing, but they're here.
Aditi, can you give me a little closer look of what you've sketched? It's a little light, so just want to
Yeah, can you see it?
Oh, very light marks. You've just positioned what is where.
Correct.
Okay, okay, got it, got it. Nice, thank you.
Now, regarding colors, since we are doing a lot of color matching, if you need to, keep a test paper handy so you can check the color beforehand. Don't try to make any adjustments afterwards. If you feel at any point that you would like the color to be different, allow the earlier color to dry up. In many ways, I feel that the Impressionists allowed us to experiment with so many other things. My contention is that without the Impressionists, we might not even have been able to do animation. Definitely none of this cartoon stuff. Because till then, we weren't expanding. Not by we, I don't mean particularly Indians. For us, it's a completely different history. But worldwide, because they became so influential eventually, that they allowed us to see things that weren't, and also to interpret things differently. There's a very interesting study about how certain things about art have worked in the past. It hadn't occurred to me also, because we look at the past as one big chunk, but Egyptian paintings remained static for 2000 years. If you think about it, it's the most ridiculous time frame. How can something not change for 2000 years? It was probably because of all the religious requirements that paintings had to fulfill, that they were not used as art. They were used for what, their funerals or for records. So if you can think about what was happening 2000 years ago in your neighborhood, you're still doing the same art. That would be very, I guess, telling of the culture also. On the one hand, it is very strong, but on the other hand, it must be so static. Were there any innovations? Was there anything that changed for people? So my first layer is done. The approach to replicating this painting in watercolor is going to be very different from how you would do it in oil. Someday, maybe I'll also make oil paintings. Then we'll have another class on this, where I can probably show you how I would do it in oils. I'm going to share a couple of pictures of a series that my students had done in 2019. But I'll do that after you finish. There are 3 pictures in this, which I made my younger students do. So the brief that was given to them was to not just to recreate the paintings of the artists, but also to uh, do a little bit of a study of the artists themselves, who they were, who were their friends, contemporaries, what motivated them, what kind of other topics they approached, what was their philosophy. And in order to showcase that, I said, let's try this. We have to showcase this in one frame. How can we do it in a manner that is contemporary? So we came up with the idea of showing a picture of an imagined Instagram post by these impressionists or older artists. I think I have shown this before, but I'd like to share it again. So you can try this exercise for yourself also. You don't need to do this only if you need to make a presentation, but maybe make a series for yourself. Copy a small painting of that artist and imagine that you are in charge of creating their social media profile. So what would you say about the painting that you are uploading? All paintings have some story, so you can always find that information. Then, excuse me, everything that you see on Instagram needs to be drawn on that frame. So you have all the various buttons, then you have that message button. Some places you have a red light, some places you have blue light, some places that blue tick, all of that. Then come the comment section and who are commenting, how many likes you have, what are the responses. This whole thing has to be visualized. And you cannot do that unless you know a little bit about or a lot about the artist and you condense the information that you then want to put in their social media. So these are 3 pictures made by my students at that time. One of them was my daughter, Ira. She was, I don't know, she kind of attended this class only for this task. She just loved it. And 2 others were my students from that time. I'm just about to share those pictures. And while our first layer is drying, you can enjoy this bit. So this is a fully drawn picture. As you can see, there are even what are supposed to be straight lines are not straight. I told them deliberately don't make these straight lines with a scale. And all the lines are a little wonky, but they look so cute. So everything from the top, you have your phone service to battery life, who are your other friends. And for this, they had to do a little bit of research. So the first circle is my daughter's profile. Then, I don't know who, Diego, that's her husband. Frida's husband, Diego Rivera. Then this one, I don't know who it is. Penguin is Paul Gauguin, I think. Amrita Shergill. And her own post is, thank God it's Frida. This picture is liked by Picasso, Pablo, and how many others? 2003 others.
This is very interesting.
Yeah, they've
It's
got it
there on
down
your
so well. My
it's
God.
there on your Instagram, right, Aditi? I think I've seen this.
It could be. It could be. I just want to make a whole series of this now. This is another
Oh, this is
Very
also
interesting.
nice.
She's also, they were given complete freedom to name the account also. So this one, I love it. It's Go Be Awesome. Liked by Go Junior, which is obviously his brother Theo, and 2 others. The 2 others would have been P. Gwyn, you can see below, Go Be Awesome. At P. Gwyn, go out with me because I'm awesome. And then the last one is of Paul Gauguin. go get a life van. That's his comment. But there are so many things that one can tell about. There are certain decisions that you need to make. Like, for example, even battery life. 21% for Paul Gauguin, 89% on Vincent's phone, and 25% for Frida Kahlo. Could be very telling. Maybe two of them use their phone a lot, and Vincent just forgets his phone because he's in the outdoors painting. So you should think about taking up something like that for each artist. Every time I'm definitely going to do it whenever I get time. I want to make a whole book of these Instagram posts. But try it yourselves. It can be the front page of maybe something that you can write about an artist. This could in itself be a journal. All right, how is the painting going? I think my first layer has dried. This is done with the 10 number brush. So now I'm going to shift to a slightly thinner brush and denser colors.
Aditi, see?
Yeah. Oh, nice. Very nice. Good, good.
Thank
Okay, now at this stage, if you want to, please feel free to use color pencils or crayons, mix your media. You might get a different result, a different color. Let that happen. Now, in this case, I have now, most of my lines have gotten hidden behind. And the color that I can see being used on top is a mixture of cerulean blue, ultramarine, and white. We rarely use white in our paintings, but for these, please freely use it. You won't get the shade otherwise. Application must be very simple. Don't try to make details too much. So just vertical and horizontal lines should be enough. And there's also a lot of dry brush. I personally never use dry brush. I don't like that texture much, but I don't think I can get anything over here unless I do it. When you come into the foreground here, you'll see greens also. Very unusual. This they've used, he's used, what is this? Viridian green. The dry brush texture comes because of, I suppose, the oil paints have not been blended. Whatever blending is being done is done on canvas directly. The figures on the boat are, and the boat itself is also not black. Hey, I guess that should do this. Now, before you finish or before you remove the tape, if you want, you can give a line around the inner edge. I personally enjoy these soft line edges. Now, what you should do, I would recommend, is write a little bit about the painting that you're making. That'll force you to do a little bit of research, read a few articles, not just the first. Try to find something other than Wikipedia. And make a nice page out of this. So I'll just give you a few tips about how you can make a nice composition in this page as well. If you have made a picture like mine, you can make a block that's about this big for the text, or you can make 2 blocks. And if you're up to it, I would also encourage you to make a small portrait, postage stamp size portrait of the artist, maybe over here. We normally don't do this. All this is just extra stuff. Write the title of the painting, the name of the artist, and you can then start giving a little bit of information about the artist. You can divide this block also into 2 columns with a small gutter space in the middle. Make sure the columns look equal. And then mark lines through if you need to, and definitely write something about it. This would make it look like a magazine. So maybe it can look, we can, like the brief I'd given my earlier students was in social media. Over here, you can make it look like a magazine. So try and look for fonts that are used in magazines and try to recreate those. Let me see if I can do that for you. Okay. And we have the artist. Oh, there's a Monet painting also. Very nice self-portrait. So even things like these can be in the vein of Impressionism itself, or like a cartoon or a caricature. Okay, I guess I'll complete this and I'll share with you later. Any questions? Any clarifications? How is it going?
Going well. This has been a great class. And what I really enjoy is hearing you speak, talk to. Yeah.
Oh, good, good. Sometimes
There's
I
lots to gain from the class. Just yeah.
Right.
Oh, very nice. Ritika and Alka, both very good.
Thank you.
Rais is also very nice.
Yes, I agree completely with what Tarini said. It's so nice to listen to you talk.
Oh, very nice, Tarini. Okay, so I want you to write that essay like an article about your impression your experience about this. I can give you some tips on how to start if you've never written an article of that nature before. I haven't either. I'm not in the practice of writing articles, but I always have impressions which I know need to be noted down somewhere. So, for example, if this was your first experience painting from an Impressionist painting, what did you think right before and what did you think after making? That becomes something to write about. Then the painting itself, what did you see it as? If it was the first time you saw it, what was your first impression? If this is something that you've seen before, how have you thought of it before? Seeing it in magazines maybe, or just hearing about Impressionists or Monet. So do a comparison of the before and after the experience. Then the experience itself can be insightful. A year from now, when you read this, there will be something that you will have crossed over that you won't even have realized. So either how colors work with each other can be revealing to you, how just something simply put can also give you the impression or the illusion of something very complicated. Like a 4 or 5 strokes can make a ship. But when you think of a ship or painting a ship in our head, it's like a very complicated illustration, and you want to just avoid making all of that. So there are revelations about using art to create illusion that can also be interesting to note down. So as journals work, as you progress, there are things that you will learn to deliberately notice. Once you know that there is an application to even that, noticing it and then putting it down as a journal entry or an article or an essay just for yourself. So you can start that rolling. Even if you don't write any articles, the experience of having written only once can give you pointers on how you can absorb information regarding your art practice from here on. Okay, so I guess that's it for today. Next week, I had planned to do William Morris again because somehow I feel that he's my good luck charm. If I ignore William Morris, then I just have this andhashraddha that everything else will go bad. So William Morris it is. And if you have any other artists that you would like to make, like Varsha had shared this painting by Van Gogh, we can do that as well. If there are any other artists from different styles, we can probably attempt that. I'll have to do a little bit of study beforehand. So if you can send it in advance, it'll help. And just a note, this week I think we have 5 Saturdays, if I'm not mistaken. But the Saturday of the 16th, that Saturday I won't be available. So we won't have class on that day. But either because we have an extra class, we don't need to have a class, we can just have 4. Or if we feel that we really want to, then we can do that Saturday, Sunday thing, any of the other weeks. Okay, 16th, we are going to Bombay to see Mamma Mia. So we're going to leave early and make a thing out of it, like pilgrimage.
Nice. Have a great time. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll catch you next week. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a nice weekend. Bye.
Have a good weekend.
Happy
Bye bye.
weekend. Bye.